We are speaking with Tracy Walsh, who appeared at the Americans for Prosperity Foundation event, the Defending the American Dream Summit, talking about healthcare. And Tracy has a deeply personal investment in this particular debate, and a very affecting speech, Tracy. Thank you for sitting down with me. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and why you came here to the Defending the American Dream Summit to talk about healthcare?
Okay. Well, last summer I went in for a routine mammogram and was called back for a repeat because there was a suspicious area. And so at the repeat, the radiologist came in, showed me my mammogram, and said, "This is what we're looking at on your right breast." There were several white spots, looked like someone had taken a salt shaker and shaken on my breast. And he said, "These are microcalcifications, the beginning of multiple tumors in your breast, and you need a needle biopsy this afternoon." Of course, that didn't happen that day, but the very next week on Tuesday, I went in for the needle biopsy, and on Wednesday afternoon, the surgeon called me and told me that I had breast cancer, and it was ductal carcinoma in situ, which meant the cancer was still inside my milk ducts. It was not spreading yet, and because of that, he expected my lymph nodes to be clean, and fortunately they were, so the cancer was not invasive at that point. So I had choices in my treatment. One was a lumpectomy just in that area, but I'd have to follow that up with radiation and 5 years of tamoxifen because my hormones were feeding the cancer, and they had to block those hormones. And the other thing with that option is that particular type of cancer recurs in 40% of the cases, and 70% of those cases the cancer is invasive, and a woman would be fighting for her life at that point. And usually when cancer recurs, it's much more aggressive than the first occurrence. So my second option was a total mastectomy on both sides, bilateral mastectomy, and that would basically cure me from the cancer, and there would be nothing for the cancer to return back to. So that would offer me a cure. And so after discussing those options with my husband and considering the fact that I had 5 young children at the time, and I just needed to be able to concentrate on raising my family and homeschooling my children, I didn't want to be worrying about cancer coming back. So we chose the double mastectomies treatment, and that gave me the cure. 3 days after my surgery, the doctor came in and said, "Everything looks clear. We know the cancer has not spread through any other avenue, and I pronounce you cured." So I am cancer-free today, and I don't expect to experience breast cancer again.
So, thank you very much for sharing this story with us. Tell us a little bit about why this informs your position on the healthcare overhaul plans that are being bandied about in Congress right now.
Well, when I went for a follow-up with my surgeons, we were talking about healthcare at the time, and they were talking about the part of the stimulus bill that was passed that established the Federal Council for Comparative Effectiveness.
Comparative effectiveness, yes.
It's a long name to try to remember.
Yes, it is.
And said, this is a panel of bureaucrats put together to decide treatments on specific diagnoses. And if this goes through, then no patient will have a choice in their treatments. And my doctors, both of my surgeons said, "Tracy, you probably, if this passes, women in the future in your position probably won't have a choice in their treatments. The government's going to dictate to them what your treatment will be." And that just really alerted me to it, because I thought, what if I were in that position? What effect would it have on me? And I thought, I would lose my peace of mind. I would lose control over my body. I would lose my hope for a long future to raise my children. Whose business is it to tell me which treatment to take? It's certainly not some bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. telling breast cancer patients, this is your treatment, this is your only option.
And the way, of course, the mechanism for that is the fact that they're going to be setting payment schedules for, government option plans, Medicare, Medicaid, that sort of thing. Were you on a government health care plan, or were you on a private insurance plan at the time?
I guess private. I had health insurance through my husband's employer.
So employer-based private sector health
Yes.
insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any problems with your health insurance and
Not at all.
covering that?
No.
You didn't get thrown off for acne or anything like that?
No, not at all. In fact, this particular company had what they called a health navigator, and it was a person within the insurance company there to help take me through the process and make sure that I was getting timely responses, that things were going well, that I was getting adequate treatment, that that my testing would be scheduled on time. The insurance company was actually helping me get through the healthcare system.
So when President Obama talks about these evil health insurance companies, and that wasn't your experience through this?
It was not my experience, not with this situation. I did have a situation where I felt like the insurance company choked on a gnat but swallowed a camel in one situation. That was something minor a few years earlier, but in this situation I didn't have a problem with it at all.
So what made you decide to become an activist with the Americans for Prosperity Foundation and come out to the Defending the Dream Summit, Defending the American Dream Summit, excuse me. I mean, what brought you there? Did you go to Americans for Prosperity, or did you just decide to go to a rally? Or
Well, what happened was I was just checking my emails, and I got one probably forwarded to me from somebody from Patients United Now. So I read that email about some stories, and I think I read about Shona Holmes' story on there, and said, if you've had experience with a foreign healthcare system, or you like what you have here in America, please send us your story. Well, my mother's a Canadian, so I have family in Canada. So first I wrote to them and told them a few experiences that my Canadian family had, some frustrations and some really denial of health care for my uncle and delay of health care for my aunt. And I said, in contrast with my breast cancer here in the United States, from diagnosis to cure was 7 short weeks. And so I said, I don't want to see the American system go the way of the Canadian system, where, with my breast cancer diagnosis, I'm waiting 4 or 5 months to see someone about even talking about treatments, which is what my aunt had to do, because that's 120 days for that cancer to spread.
Right.
And so, I wrote them in, and someone from AFP called me and said, your story's very compelling, and we're looking for someone to do a commercial for us, someone that's had an experience like yours to do a commercial for us. Do you think you could do the commercial? And I said, yes, I do, because this is very important to me, that we fight for our freedoms and fight for our choices.
Now, Tracy, I'm sure you're going to tell me that prior to this, you were this big-time political activist. You were in the pocket of insurance companies. And what did you do before this? Were you politically active at all before this?
No, the most politically active thing I ever did was vote.
Well, and congratulations, because there's about 45% that don't actually.
Right?
Yeah.
And probably the other thing, too, I did the year before was take my children to a stump speech during the South Carolina presidential primaries for them to actually see a stump speech, because we had to be in the city at the same time. But that's the most thing I ever did. And the other politically active thing I did was yell at the TV.
Well,
before then I wasn't, outside of my home, I wasn't politically active at all.
Now, Tracy, by that definition, I am a professional sports athlete, because I yell at the television an awful lot when the Steelers or Notre Dame are playing on TV. No, so you are not some sort of activist. You're not some sort of industry mouthpiece. I mean, you hear this a lot coming from advocates of state-run health care, of the ObamaCare plan, that all of the people here who are showing up to events like Defending the Dream, but also out to the town halls where you've been active as well, that we're all sort of bought and paid for by the insurance company. We're just political hacks. And I mean, politics is my business. It's what I do for a living. But this is not what you do for a living.
No, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have 5 children. I homeschool them. That is a full-time job and a half, actually. I don't have time for anything else, really. That takes up all my time, just raising and educating my children. So, I'm not in anybody's pocket.
Tracy, first off, I want to thank you again for sitting down with us. What's the one message you want to get out to everybody on this issue?
Now is the time to get out of your living room, out from front of your TV. Now is the time to get out there. Contact your representative. Contact your senators. Now is the time to fight for your freedoms and fight for your choices.
Tracy Walsh, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.